American Tomahawks destroy Caracas. Russian advisors die in strikes. Chinese tankers burn in Venezuelan ports. Cuban troops evacuate through Colombia. Iranian weapons caches explode. What started as regional conflict becomes global crisis. Moscow threatens retaliation. Beijing condemns aggression. Tehran promises revenge. Havana mobilizes reserves. 5 adversaries watching American military demolish Venezuela. 5 nations calculating whether they're next. The world isn't just watching. The world is on the brink. March 12, 2025, USA-Venezuela war enters 3rd week. American military dominates completely. Venezuelan Air Force destroyed, Navy sunk, army scattered, infrastructure crippled, oil production stopped, government collapsing, Maduro hiding. Victory seems certain. Clean, quick, limited to Western Hemisphere. But wars don't stay limited, especially when global powers have interests at stake. Venezuela isn't an isolated nation. Venezuela is node in anti-American network. Russian military advisors, Chinese investment, Iranian weapons, Cuban intelligence. When America destroys Venezuela, America threatens entire network. Network members must respond, or accept that challenging America means destruction. Russian response comes first. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov gives speech at UN Security Council on March 13th, calls American actions illegal war of aggression, demands immediate ceasefire, proposes Security Council resolution condemning American military operations. Resolution text is harsh. Calls for sanctions on United States, arms embargo, asset freezes, international isolation. The resolution is theater. America will veto. Russia knows this. Point isn't passing resolution. Point is forcing America to veto, showing world that American power ignores international law, building narrative of American imperialism. Lavrov speaks for 47 minutes, detailed condemnation, but words without action. Russia cannot defend Venezuela militarily, cannot challenge American Navy in Caribbean, cannot project power to Western Hemisphere, so Russia speaks and does nothing. What's your assessment? Type A if you think Russia's response is pure posturing. Type B if you believe real escalation is coming. But Russian military advisors in Venezuela create complication. 340 contractors from Wagner Group, embedded with Venezuelan forces, training troops, maintaining equipment, providing intelligence. When American Tomahawks strike Venezuelan military bases, Russians die. 47 Wagner contractors killed in first wave of strikes. American intelligence knew Russians were there, targeted facilities anyway. Message is clear. Being Russian doesn't provide immunity. Supporting enemies means becoming targets. Kremlin faces impossible choice. Demand accountability for Russian deaths, risk confrontation with America, or accept losses quietly. Admit inability to protect Russian forces abroad. Putin chooses middle path, loud protests, no action, rhetoric without consequences. Chinese response is more substantial. Beijing invested $62 billion in Venezuela since 2007. Loans for oil, infrastructure projects, port facilities, refineries. Everything now burning or captured. Chinese Foreign Ministry issues statement, March 14th. China strongly condemns American military aggression against sovereign nation. Demands respect for international law. Calls for UN intervention. Offers humanitarian assistance to Venezuela. But like Russia, China won't fight. Chinese Navy cannot reach Caribbean. Chinese Air Force cannot operate in Western Hemisphere. Chinese ground forces cannot deploy across Pacific. Geography constrains Chinese options. They can protest, cannot prevent. Don't miss how this regional war creates global crisis. Subscribe for complete international analysis. But China takes indirect action, increases military activities near Taiwan. Flights into ADIZ increase 40%. Naval patrols expand. Exercises intensify. Message to America is clear. You're distracted in Caribbean. We're active in Asia. Your carriers are committed to Venezuela. Our forces are positioned for Taiwan. Chinese strategy is exploitation. While America fights in one hemisphere, create pressure in another. Force dispersion of American resources. Demonstrate that American military cannot be everywhere simultaneously. Venezuela becomes opportunity for Chinese pressure on Taiwan. Iranian response combines rhetoric with action. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei gives speech March 15th, condemns American imperialism, promises support to all nations resisting American hegemony, specifically mentions Venezuela as victim of aggression. Iranian Revolutionary Guard increases activities in Persian Gulf. Speedboat swarms harass commercial shipping. Mines get laid near Strait of Hormuz. Tankers face inspections. Iran doesn't attack American forces directly, just creates friction, raises costs, forces American attention to split between Caribbean and Middle East. Every destroyer sent to Persian Gulf is one not available for Venezuela. Iranian harassment achieves strategic effect without direct confrontation. Cuban response is most complicated. Cuba depends on Venezuelan oil. Subsidized fuel kept Cuban economy functional. Now Venezuela burns. Cuban government faces economic catastrophe. No fuel, no power, no transportation. Cuban president addresses nation March 16th. Speech is defiant, but desperate. Condemns American aggression, pledges solidarity with Venezuela. Promises Cuba will never submit. But words cannot produce oil. Words cannot power generators. Words cannot run buses. Cuba faces choice. Negotiate with America, accept terms, get fuel, or maintain defiance. Face collapse. Pride versus survival. This level of global geopolitical analysis requires extensive research. Subscribe to support this content. Cuban military goes on high alert March 17th. Not to fight America. Cuba cannot fight superpower 90 miles away. Alert is defensive. Anticipation that American military might expand operations to Cuba. Fear that Venezuelan intervention becomes Cuban intervention. Cuban army mobilizes 49,000 troops. Positions around Havana, Guantanamo, Santiago. Air defenses activate. Coastal artillery mans positions. MiG-29 fighters conduct patrols. Everything is defensive. Everything is inadequate. If America decides to strike Cuba, Cuban forces cannot prevent it. Cuban leadership knows this. Alert is political theater. Show population government is strong. Show allies Cuba resists. Show America that Cuba won't surrender without fight, even symbolic fight. North Korea watches Venezuelan collapse carefully. Kim Jong-un sees parallels, small nation. Hostile to America, dependent on larger powers for support, vulnerable to American military. Venezuelan destruction validates North Korean nuclear program. Only nuclear weapons deter American aggression. Venezuela had conventional military. America destroyed it in days. North Korea has nuclear weapons. America negotiates carefully. Lesson is obvious. Nuclear deterrence works. Conventional forces are irrelevant. Kim feels vindicated. Orders acceleration of missile production, more warheads, longer range, better reliability. Venezuelan example proves Kim's strategy correct. What would you do as North Korean leader watching Venezuela's fate? Comment your strategic response below. Middle Eastern nations calculate implications. Saudi Arabia sees Venezuelan oil offline. Global supply tightens. Prices rise. Saudi revenue increases. Good for budget, good for economy. But Saudi Arabia also notes American willingness to destroy nations that challenge oil markets. Venezuela nationalized American assets, got destroyed. Saudi Arabia maintains careful relationship with American oil companies, ensures contracts are honored, investments protected. Nobody wants to be next to Venezuela. Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen increase attacks on Saudi infrastructure, trying to destabilize, while American attention is elsewhere. Saudi Arabia requests American military support. America is stretched thin. Response is delayed, inadequate. Saudis realize they're on their own. Israel watches with mixed feelings. American military dominance demonstrated clearly. Technology works. Training pays off. Precision strikes effective. Israel takes notes for potential Iranian operations. But Israeli strategists worry about American overextension. 3 carrier groups committed to Caribbean, 2 in Middle East, 1 in Mediterranean. How many available for Israeli support? If Israel strikes Iranian nuclear facilities during Venezuelan crisis, can America provide backup? Israeli Prime Minister holds Security Cabinet meeting March 18th. Decides to delay Iranian operations. Wait until American forces return from Venezuela. Wait until full support available. Opportunity exists, but timing is wrong. European NATO allies issue carefully worded statements. Support American right to self-defense. Condemn Venezuelan aggression. Call for diplomatic solution. Offer to mediate. But nobody sends forces. Nobody threatens Venezuela. Nobody actually supports American operations beyond words. Germany criticizes American use of force. France calls for restraint. Italy urges negotiation. European reaction reveals alliance weakness. NATO works when defending Europe. Doesn't work when America fights outside Europe. American strategists note which allies stand firm and which waffle. Future cooperation depends on current reliability. European failure to support creates rift in alliance. If you're following this global crisis development, hit subscribe and notification bell now. Brazilian response reflects regional giant's dilemma. Largest South American nation. 215 million people, powerful military, regional leader aspirations, but also shares 1,400-mile border with Venezuela. 3 million Venezuelan refugees already in Brazil. Brazilian government opposes American military intervention publicly. Sovereignty matters. Non-interference matters. Regional autonomy matters. President gives speech criticizing American aggression. But Brazilian military quietly cooperates, allows American reconnaissance flights from Brazilian airspace, shares intelligence on Venezuelan movements, coordinates border security to prevent Venezuelan forces from seeking sanctuary. Public opposition. Private cooperation. Brazilian politics is complicated. Words for domestic consumption. Actions for international reality. Colombian response is open support. President celebrates Venezuelan military destruction. Historic enemy weakened. Border threat eliminated. Colombian military provides bases for American operations. Intelligence sharing, logistics support. Overflight rights. Everything except actual combat troops. Colombia sends message to hemisphere. Siding with America has benefits. Opposing America has costs. Venezuela chose opposition. Venezuela got destroyed. Colombia chose cooperation. Colombia stays safe, gets stronger, gains influence. Regional powers learn this lesson. Mexican government maintains careful neutrality. Geographic proximity to United States demands caution. Cannot openly oppose American military action, but cannot enthusiastically support either. Mexican population is anti-intervention. Media criticizes American aggression. Supporting America costs domestic political capital. So Mexico issues measured statements, calls for peace, urges dialogue, offers to mediate, takes no firm position. Fence-sitting is survival strategy for nations bordering superpowers. Mexico learned this over 200 years, maintains today. Your engagement shapes our content creation. Comment your analysis and share this video. By March 20th, global situation reaches critical inflection point that threatens to spiral beyond control. Russia completes massive military exercises directly on NATO borders. Eastern Military District activates 85,000 troops mobilized across Belarus, Kaliningrad, and Western Russia. Tank battalions roll toward Polish frontier. 340 T-90M main battle tanks, 180 BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles. Artillery brigades deploy, 2 S-19 MSTA self-propelled howitzers, 220mm multiple rocket launchers. Air defense systems activate, S-400 batteries, Pantsir S-1 systems. Russian strategic bombers conduct flights near NATO airspace. Tu-95 Bears, two 160 Blackjacks, armed with cruise missiles. This isn't invasion preparation. This is pressure campaign designed to split American attention, force NATO to choose between reinforcing Eastern Europe or supporting American operations in Caribbean. Every American brigade sent to Poland is one unavailable for global response. Every fighter squadron deployed to Baltic states is one not available for Venezuela or Middle East. Russia creates dilemma through positioning without attacking. China increases Taiwan pressure simultaneously and methodically. People's Liberation Army Air Force flights into Taiwan, Air Defense Identification Zone, increase 40% over baseline. Daily incursions, now numbering 30-40 aircraft. J-20 stealth fighters, J-16 strike fighters, H-6 bombers, Y-8 reconnaissance planes, all probing Taiwanese responses. Testing reaction times, mapping radar coverage. PLA Navy expands patrols around Taiwan. Type 055 destroyers circle island. Type 052D destroyers maintain constant presence. Amphibious assault ships conduct exercises off Fujian coast. Type 075 landing helicopter docks. Type 071 landing platform docks. Practicing invasion procedures, running through assault timelines, not actual invasion preparation, exploitation of American distraction. Message to Washington is unmistakable. Your carriers committed to Caribbean. Our forces positioned for Taiwan. Your attention divided. Our opportunity created. Chinese strategy is opportunistic pressure. While America fights distant war, create crisis in Asia. Force dispersion of American resources. Demonstrate limits of American power projection. Venezuela becomes Chinese opportunity for Taiwan pressure without actual combat. Iran mines Strait of Hormuz, partially on March 20th. Revolutionary Guard naval forces deploy 47 mines across shipping channels. Not full blockade, strategic placement. Just enough to require clearance operations. Just dangerous enough to raise insurance rates. Oil shipments drop 30%. Prices spike $18 per barrel. Iran achieves effect without direct attack. American Fifth Fleet must respond. Deploy mine countermeasures. Commit escorts. Every ship sent to Persian Gulf diverts from Caribbean. Cuba mobilizes 49,000 active troops, plus 39,000 reserves, March 21st. Territorial militia adds 100,000 more. Equipment is Soviet-era, but numbers create appearance of strength. North Korea tests 3 Hwasong-15 ICBMs, March 22nd. Range 8,000 miles, can reach continental U.S. Missiles land in Sea of Japan. Test successful. Technology works. Kim reminds Washington of nuclear threat, while America fights distant war. 5 adversaries, 5 pressures. Coordinated timing. Strategy is global overextension. American military assesses global situation March 21st in Emergency Joint Chiefs meeting. Pentagon Situation Room. All service chiefs present. Intelligence briefings paint grim picture. Current carrier disposition: Reagan, Vinson, Lincoln in Caribbean. Eisenhower in Persian Gulf. Ford in Mediterranean. 5 carriers committed. Roosevelt can deploy from San Diego in 72 hours. George Washington from Norfolk in 96 hours. Stennis and Truman in port maintenance. Nimitz and Bush conducting workups. Available surge capacity: 0 immediately. Air Force faces identical strain. B-2s hitting Venezuela. F-35s in Caribbean. F-22s defending Alaska. F-15s countering Iran. F-16s supporting NATO Europe. Every squadron deployed, no reserves. Submarine force distributed worldwide. 4 boats near Venezuela, 3 near Taiwan. 2 monitoring North Korea. 3 in Persian Gulf, 2 tracking Russia. Army brigades on 3 continents. Marines committed to Caribbean and Asia. Every service at maximum deployment. No surge capacity exists. Global military at breaking point. Was this global response coordinated or spontaneous? Could America have prevented it? Share your assessment below. President faces impossible choices. March 22nd meeting. NSC assembled. Options all bad. Option 1. Concentrate forces in Caribbean. Deploy Roosevelt and Washington. Finish Venezuela in 72 hours. Accept risks elsewhere. Russia could move. China could strike Taiwan. Iran could close Hormuz. Risk enormous, but message clear. American power wins decisively, regardless of opposition. Option 2, distribute evenly. Accept no decisive victories. Manage multiple crises. Prevent catastrophic losses by accepting partial losses. Defensive strategy. Option 3, negotiate. Declare victory, withdraw. Trade concessions for Russian stand-down, Chinese pause, Iranian de-escalation. Compromise, but appears weak. President chooses option 1, concentration. Finish Venezuela completely. Send message to all adversaries. Challenge America and get destroyed. Regardless of coordination, American will is absolute. Additional carrier groups deploy. Theodore Roosevelt from San Diego, George Washington from Norfolk. Both arrive Caribbean within 7 days. Bomber sorties triple. Submarine operations intensify. Goal is total Venezuelan military destruction, not defeat, annihilation. Make example that resonates for decades. Show Russia, China, Iran, Cuba, North Korea what happens when you challenge American power, even indirectly, even through proxies, even with coordinated global support. Result is same: destruction. By March 28th, Venezuelan military ceases to exist. Air Force eliminated, Navy destroyed, Army scattered, command structure eliminated, infrastructure demolished, government collapsed, Maduro captured, regime change complete. Total American victory. But at what cost? Global tensions at highest point since Cuban Missile Crisis. Russian forces on European borders, Chinese forces threatening Taiwan, Iranian forces in Persian Gulf, Cuban military mobilized, North Korean missiles testing, American military stretched to breaking, victory in Venezuela, crisis everywhere else. This is strategic overextension. This is what adversaries wanted. This is why they coordinated pressure. Venezuela was bait. America took it. Now America must deal with consequences. If you made it through this entire global crisis analysis, you understand modern great power competition. Subscribe. 3 final questions for international relations experts. First, can American military sustain global commitments while fighting regional wars? Second, does coordinated adversary pressure overcome American advantages? Third, at what point does winning every battle mean losing strategic competition? Your expert analysis matters. Drop detailed assessment. Share with IR professionals. Subscribe because understanding modern conflicts requires understanding global interconnections. How regional wars become global crises. How adversaries coordinate. How superpowers overextend. Venezuelan war is over. America won decisively. But global situation is more dangerous than before war started. Russia is aggressive. China is opportunistic. Iran is disruptive. Cuba is desperate. North Korea is emboldened. American military is stretched. Alliances are strained. And next crisis could occur anywhere, with fewer resources to respond. This is reality of 21st century superpower status. Win every fight. But create new problems through winning. Venezuela is defeated, but world is on the brink. That's not failure. That's the price of being global superpower in multipolar world where every adversary coordinates and every action has unintended consequences.